Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Zhang. Here is a preview of some of today's top stories. San Francisco appointed a new member to the city's election commission. See why the move is gaining national attention. President Biden demands House Republicans to approve the $95 billion foreign aid bill. But GOP members want Europe to do more to help. A candidate for California senator proposes a $50 minimum wage. Just how feasible is that idea? First up, a non-citizen is now serving as an elections commissioner in San Francisco. It's believed to be the first time the position is being held by someone who isn't legally allowed to vote. NTD's Jason Blair reports.
San Francisco appointed the first non-citizen to the city's elections commission. The newest member of the 7-person body, Kelly Wong, told KQED, quote, "I've seen how language and cultural barriers prevent immigrants with limited English proficiency from fully exercising their right to vote." The San Francisco Board of Supervisors unanimously voted to appoint Wong. She was sworn in on Wednesday by the Board of Supervisors President Aaron Peskin. Peskin posted on X, quote, "I'm very impressed by Kelly Wong's commitment to enfranchising people who rarely vote, to educating people about the voting process." Kelly Wong is an immigrant from Hong Kong. In addition to English, she is fluent in the Cantonese and Mandarin dialects of Chinese. She told KQED one of her priorities is to make sure election materials are translated so native speakers can understand them. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, Chinese is the second most spoken language in San Francisco, with many speaking the Cantonese dialect. In San Francisco, non-citizens aren't completely banned from voting in elections. Since 2016, non-citizen parents are allowed to vote in school board elections if they have a child enrolled in the school district. Jason Blair, NTD News.
Now let's take a look at other top headlines. Trump fired back over the weekend after the New York court ruling on Friday. The former president began a Michigan rally by calling the judge's decision a lawless, unconstitutional atrocity that sets fire to the nation's laws.
You talk about democracy. This is a real threat to democracy and restoring fair, equal, and impartial justice in America. We have to have that because we don't have that now.
Trump has accused the Democrats of election interference in the form of multiple civil and criminal cases against him. Earlier in the day, the former president introduced his new Trump-branded sneakers as SneakerCon in Philadelphia. The event bills itself as the greatest sneaker show on earth. The gold high tops with the American flag detail on the back are being sold as the Never Surrender high tops. Trump supporters at SneakerCon shared their feelings about the former president and the 2024 election.
Because America's fed up from all the corruption, the open border, the crime, all the endless wars and the money that's going out the doors. Washington is a swamp.
A trucker known as Chicago Ray shared a video Saturday on X saying truckers overwhelmingly support Trump. It said it has spoken to about 10 drivers so far who won't deliver loads to the Big Apple. And on Monday, Callahan Auto Parts posted a statement on X saying for the next 3 years, no Callahan product would be shipped to New York City. President Biden and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer are demanding that House Republicans pass the $95 billion foreign aid bill. Biden spoke with the Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky over the weekend, linking Ukraine's withdrawal from the key city to Congress's inability to act. The White House says the withdrawal was forced by ammunition having to be rationed. Biden has criticized the House lawmakers for taking a 2-week break, calling it outrageous.
Look, the Ukrainian people have fought so bravely and heroically. They put so much on the line. And the idea that now, when they're running out of ammunition, we walk away, I find it absurd. I find it unethical. I find it just contrary to everything we are as a country.
Meanwhile, there is an increasing pressure on European nations to step up their efforts to counter Russia after recent comments from former President Trump. Republican Senator J.D. Vance said the odds were 50-50 on U.S. approval for a multi-billion-dollar aid package for Ukraine. He said while the U.S. remains loyal to NATO, Republicans want Europeans to do more.
Look, the best way to help Ukraine, I think, from a European perspective, is for Europe to become more self-sufficient. Vladimir Putin is, of course, in the geopolitical backyard of Europe. The problem is not American willpower or American money. The problem is that NATO doesn't make enough of its own stuff.
Blame for the death of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny poured out over the weekend. The 47-year-old's sudden death at a remote Arctic prison on Friday comes less than a month before an election that will give Russian President Vladimir Putin another 6 years in power. Protests in Russia were dispersed, with the police arresting hundreds and taking away tributes. Members of Navalny's anti-corruption campaign were accusing Russia of hiding the politician's body and covering up the cause of his sudden death. Rights group OVD Info says more than 400 people have been arrested so far in over 30 Russian cities, most in St. Petersburg and Moscow. Protests also popped up in cities like London, Paris, and Barcelona.
Our freedom is also that. I mean, that's what it means for me.
Prison officials told Navalny's mother he died from sudden death syndrome, a term that could involve a wide range of scenarios, resulting in unforeseen sudden death. Navalny's spokeswoman on Saturday confirmed his death, claiming he had been murdered. She says a cause of death has not been determined and the family doesn't know where the body is.
We demand that Russian authorities immediately give Alexei's body to his family.
Russian officials told them the results of a new investigation would be released this week. Navalny's widow speaks out in a new 9-minute YouTube video which has garnered over 2 million views. She vows to continue her husband's work.
Ведь мог бы спокойно жить, заниматься собой, семьей, мог не говорить, не расследовать, не выступать и не бороться. А он не мог. Alexei больше всего на свете любил Россию.
Navalny was serving a 3-decade sentence on extremism and fraud charges that he denied. His death comes as Putin prepares for next month's presidential election, set to keep him in power until 2030. During a California U.S. Senate race debate earlier this week, a representative proposed to raise the minimum wage to $50 an hour. She claims people making 6 figures is barely enough to get by in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Representative Barbara Lee from Oakland is calling for a $50 minimum wage. During the California Senate debate on Monday, co-host Fox 40 News' Nikki Lorenzo asked Lee to explain how the minimum wage hike would be economically sustainable for small businesses. According to Lee, workers in the San Francisco Bay Area aren't being paid a living wage. She claims that according to recent reports, $127,000 a year is barely enough for a family of 4 to get by. She believes the national minimum wage also needs to increase.
You're talking about $20, $25, fine, but I have got to be focused on what California needs and what the affordability factor is when we calculate.
The current national minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. California's minimum wage is $16 per hour. Lee's opponent, Republican Steve Garvey, pointed out that California has already raised the minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 an hour starting April 1st. He says the move will increase the price of food for hard-working Californians. In an interview with California Insider Opinion in December, Hank Adler, the executive accounting professor at Chapman University, said the fast food wage surge is a double-edged sword for workers and employers.
Company has to make a profit to stay in business. Those costs are going to get passed along to the customer. Now, it is certainly possible in fast food, if robotics come into the equation, that costs will remain the same or not go up as much as the cost of the increase in wages to the employee. That has to play out over time.
Adler predicts that if robotics come in, it would replace employees. Businesses would see fewer human employees, which would defeat the purpose of giving people a livable wage. He adds, higher minimum wages would also create competition between businesses. A good employee can move to a competing business if they see an opportunity to get paid higher there.
Evacuation alerts, road closures, and flood warnings are in effect in Southern California due to another major winter storm bringing additional rainfall into the region.
And the rain continues, looking at another additional period of heavy rain through today across across portions of Southern California, where an additional amount of 1 to maybe as high as 3 inches of rainfall could occur through today. And that could result in additional flash flooding, potentially landslides, and in and around Southern California.
The storm is expected to bring 2 to 5 inches of rain along the coastal areas and valleys, and 4 to 8 inches across the south and southwest facing mountain slopes and foothills. Ventura County has recorded the highest rainfall so far, exceeding 3 inches. An evacuation warning was issued along Santa Maria Road north of Topanga Canyon Boulevard in the Santa Monica Mountains due to possible mudslides. The Sepulveda Basin is also closed due to flooding. A flood watch will be in effect in most of Los Angeles County through Wednesday morning. We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. 2 officers and a first responder killed in Minnesota. They were responding to a domestic violence call. Data shows more teens are using weight loss drugs. More on this growing trend. A historic match between 2 of the sharpest shooters in the basketball world. We'll bring you a recap of the first ever NBA versus WNBA three-point contest. Those stories and more coming up on NTD Tonight. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Zhang. 2 police officers and a first responder were killed in Minnesota in a gunfire exchange while responding to a call of family in danger. NTD's Christina Corona has more on this tragic story.
At approximately 1:50 a.m. Sunday, the Burnsville Police Department was called to a residence in the 12,600 block of 33rd Avenue South on a report of domestic violence. A man was reported to be armed and barricaded with family members in the home.
We later learned that there were 7 young children in the home, ranging from ages 2 to 15. When officers got to the scene, the individual was barricaded, and they spent quite a bit of time negotiating with this individual who was barricaded in the home. At one point during that barricaded situation, the subject opened fire on the officers in the home, and officers Elmstrad, Ruge, and Finseth for the fire department, Mr. Finseth, were killed by the gunman during the response.
Another officer, Adam Medlicott, was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The alleged shooter was reported dead around 8 a.m. Authorities say the children and family members were able to escape from the home later that morning.
Today, 3 members of our team made the ultimate sacrifice for this community. They are heroes.
Hundreds of people gathered in front of Burnsville City Hall in Minnesota Sunday evening for a candlelit vigil to remember the victims of the shooting. The shooting claimed the lives of officers Paul Elmstrand, 27, who was with the department for 6 years, Matthew Ruge, 27, who was with the police department for 3 years, and Adam Finseth, 40, who served as a firefighter and paramedic for 5 years.
I can't imagine the pain that you're all going through. I just can't imagine. But what I want to say is to all of our officers out there, to all of our paramedics, our fire department, thank you for what you do for our community. Thank you. We know that right now is a time to grieve. That's it. As a community, to come together and grieve our community's loss. That's what we have to do, and to support the families that are affected most directly by this terrible, devastating tragedy today.
The medical office has not yet released the official identification of the suspect. Christina Corona, NTD News.
A surge in adolescent use of Wegovy signals a shift in pediatric obesity treatment trends. NTD's Stephanie Sikal has the story.
Data shows there's a significant rise in U.S. adolescents starting treatment with Wegovy, a weight loss drug by Novo Nordisk, to combat increasing rates of pediatric obesity. Data from Komodo Health shows over 1,200 youths aged 12 to 17 began Wegovy treatment in the first 10 months of 2023, compared to only 25 in 2022. Following its approval for adolescent use in December 2022, the American Academy of Pediatrics endorsed its usage for children aged 12 and up. Despite modest numbers, there's a growing trend in Wegovy use, though its costs and long-term effects remain concerns for some. Pediatric obesity is linked to severe health issues and has led to increased interest in weight loss medications like Wegovy and Saxenda, approved for adult weight loss. Both Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly are testing similar drugs in young children. While addressing pediatric obesity is crucial globally, careful consideration and further research are needed due to Wegovy's costs and uncertainties about its long-term effects. Stephanie Sikal, NTD News.
From flaming hot Cheetos to sweet heat Starburst, America's snacks are getting spicier. Now Coca-Cola wants in on the trend.
Earlier this month, Coca-Cola introduced Coca-Cola Spiced, the first new permanent offering to its North American portfolio in 3 years. Coca-Cola Spiced and Coca-Cola Spiced Zero Sugar will go on sale in the US and Canada on February 19th. The main flavor drinkers will notice is a hint of raspberry, but not too hot. Coke won't name the spices it added. It guards its recipes closely, but they taste like amped-up versions of the spices in regular Coke. In an interview with the Associated Press, Coca-Cola's Northern American marketing chief said, "If you go to the aisles, you'll see the amount of spiciness has gone up because consumers' taste palates have evolved. We realize that could be an opportunity for us." Coke has been exploring ways to get younger drinkers excited about its signature cola. In 2022, it launched Coca-Cola Creations, a series of 8 limited edition Coke flavors in colorful cans and bottles. Coke experimented with adding hints of coconut, strawberry, watermelon, and other flavors to the drinks.
A historic clash unfolded at NBA All-Star Weekend as Stephen Curry and Sabrina Ionescu faced off in the first ever NBA versus WNBA three-point contest. NTD's Carlos Reyes has more on the story.
Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up because NBA All-Star Weekend just witnessed history in the making with a groundbreaking clash between two of the sharpest shooters the basketball world has ever seen. In a thrilling NBA versus WNBA three-point contest dubbed Stephen versus Sabrina, Stephen Curry and Sabrina Ionescu left fans on the edge of their seats, delivering a spectacle that will be etched in the memories of basketball enthusiasts for years to come. The Golden State superstar Stephen Curry, widely regarded as the greatest shooter in basketball history, faced off against the New York Liberty's dynamic guard Sabrina Ionescu. The contest marked the first ever NBA versus WNBA three-point showdown, and boy did it live up to the hype. Ionescu, a force to be reckoned with, opened the competition in dazzling fashion, sinking 7 consecutive shots and finishing with an impressive score of 26. Not only did this tie the highest score set by any NBA player earlier in the night, but it also set the stage for an intense showdown with Curry. Curry, no stranger to high-pressure moments, showcased his precision with perfect racks from both the left and right wings, heading into the final Moneyball rack with 21 points. Curry faced the challenge of Ionescu's outstanding performance. Missing his first shot, Curry responded with a clutch display, making the last 4 shots to secure a dramatic victory with 29 points. The idea for the historic matchup was born out of mutual respect and camaraderie between Curry and Ionescu. The two stars hatched the plan after Ionescu's remarkable performance at the WNBA All-Star Weekend in July. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver applauded the initiative, acknowledging the impact it could have on inspiring the next generation. Despite Curry's attempts to throw Ionescu off her game during a practice session, the Liberty guard remained unfazed. Curry, acknowledging Ionescu's killer instinct and focus, realized that no stage would be too bright for her. The stage itself was unconventional, set on a digital LED court at Lucas Oil Stadium, providing a visually stunning backdrop for the shootout. Ionescu, choosing to compete from the farther NBA three-point line, aimed to push boundaries and equalize the playing field. In addition to the championship belt featuring 2 goats symbolizing the greatness of both players, Curry and Ionescu each received $25,000 donations to their respective charities. The duo hinted at a rematch next year when the Warriors host the All-Star Game and the possibility of expanding the event with partners, including standout Caitlin Clark. In the end, Curry and Ionescu delivered a show for the ages, leaving fans hungry for more. This historic clash transcended gender boundaries, inspiring a new chapter in basketball history. As Curry aptly put it, this will be something that we remember for a long time. Carlos Reyes, NTD News.
Stay tuned for China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer coming up next. And in more China news, a real-life thriller for foreign business employees working in China. Imagine doing routine admin work for a U.S. company only to land in a Chinese detention center facing spy charges. This is Emily Chen's story, raising concerns about the risks in China's business world. More on her case, tune in at 9:30 on NTD's China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer. And that's all we've got for you tonight. We would like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.